Well, rampant crime will certainly be a major topic for the candidates tonight,
Cool.
and we will see how they answer those questions. We'll find out when they take the stage in just a few hours, Bill, just a few hours from now. Can they convince voters they have what it takes to secure the White House? Well, let's get to our panel here. Fox News contributors Kellyanne Conway and Karl Rove. You're looking at how the debate stage is going to be set up. Kellyanne, we just had a chance to talk to some really great voters. They're thoughtful and interesting. You run a lot of focus groups, though,
yes.
and I wondered what you thought of their answers.
They were fantastic, and Dana, it shows why we should have faith in the essential wisdom of people. Those voters that Bill and you just interviewed have thought these policies through. So tonight, we don't want to hear sound bites from these candidates. We want to hear substance. We don't want personalities. We want principles. We don't want politics. We want policies. And when I say we, I mean we the people. Folks are saying they're living paycheck to paycheck. They can't afford an emergency bill of $1,000 or about $1,000. The interest rates are the highest since 2000. I mean, everywhere you look, voters feel really pressed on quality of life and everyday affordability and security issues. And I think you heard that. What I really loved about the conversation you had with these voters, they are leaning a certain way. Some of them have their preferences, but they're very open-minded.
Yeah, they are.
And that's the whole point of a debate, having these candidate forums so that people can access the candidates free of charge, all at the same time, shoulder to shoulder live, taking tough questions from our moderators, Brett and Martha, if not tough questions from each other. That's how voters end up making a decision.
Got it. Karl, good morning to you.
Morning.
Kellyanne makes some excellent points there, too.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
So you sit here in the morning of, I mean, you've done debate prep many times in your life. What are these guys thinking about and ladies thinking about before tonight?
Well, I don't know what they're thinking about, but I know what they should be thinking about, which is how do they make themselves look big? That is to say, how do they, Kellyanne is absolutely right. People are looking for substance. They're looking for, are you the person that I can see behind the resolute desk sitting in the Oval Office making big decisions? So the more that they talk about their values, their views, what they see as the problems, the better off they are. And the more they, make Joe Biden the conversation center point, as opposed to somebody else on the stage or somebody who's not on the stage, the better off they are.
Kellyanne, one of the things you write today at foxnews.com is at the first Republican debate, watch for 6 key things that could make Biden a one-term president. Tell us a little bit more about that. I encourage everyone to read the full piece, but your takeaways on maybe a couple of those 6.
Yes, first and foremost, Dana, they have to train their fire and ire on the guy who currently has the job, Joe Biden. I know it's fun to say I'm against Trump or I'm going to reach for a viral headline tonight. There's somebody who already has a job of president. He's not qualified. He's awful at the job. 2/3 of Democrats don't want him to run again. His vice president, if you can believe it, is even less popular than he is. And they're underwater on all the major issues. So the things I'm looking for tonight are, number one, how will they handle the front runner who's not there, Donald Trump? He's hovering over, he's beating every one of them in every poll. But they have an opportunity to say, look, I really appreciated his policies. I worked with him to effectuate some of them, but I think his time has passed. He can't outrun his legal woes. I represent a change. I can beat Joe Biden. 2, I want to hear their 5 or 10-point plan on the economy. And on that, we need specifics and substance. People are hurting. And it's not just the economy, stupid. What is their plan on crime, education, border security, fentanyl, the #1 killer of 18 to 45-year-olds in this country? Right. And will they talk about education? I think there's no brighter line distinction between the two parties right now than education. You have an entire Democratic Party that refuses to let kids leave those failing schools, have the money follow them. A real breakout moment for someone tonight. And then finally, Russia. We have an interest in making sure Putin, the bully, doesn't prevail. He seems to annex sovereign nations, Crimea, when Joe Biden's the vice president, or invade them, Ukraine, when Biden is president. And then on China, what would they do the same or differently than President Trump and Vice President Pence? How will they contain China in a very dangerous world?
Draw the bright lines and all that. It's an excellent piece. Again, check it out. Karl, just one thing about, they all have a record, right? And they didn't get here without one. Do you emphasize what you have done, or do you emphasize what you will do?
The answer is yes. You use what you've done in order to explain that you'll be able to achieve what you want to do, but the emphasis is the future. If candidates love their record and they love to herald their successes, and that's good, but don't do it too much, because a little bit of that goes a long way. People understand you've achieved something by being the governor or the vice president or whatever. What they want to know is, what is the future?
Okay, pop quiz to you. Who was the best at that? Democrat or Republican, you think?
In this tonight?
No. in history.
Of course, I'd have to say George W.
I would have to second that.
Exactly.
Karl, I want to ask you on the numbers. When you look at this, as Kellyanne pointed out with these voters, they are leaning towards one candidate, but they're open-minded. And in that Iowa poll, Des Moines Register, 52% of Republicans said they're open to persuasion. So does that mean that President Trump, he won't be here tonight? Obviously, people will talk about him. But is there room for one of these candidates to break out and succeed?
Well, there is. And there's a column that's appearing tomorrow in the Wall Street Journal. I think it's really well done myself. I think I've done a heck of a job on it. And what's interesting to me is the gap between President Trump's national numbers and his numbers in the early states. Remember, Wisconsin's relatively far into the process next year. But you heard how thoughtful those people were in your focus group. Iowa and New Hampshire, they're way ahead of it, which means President Trump is performing much less well in those two early states where people are paying attention to more of these candidates and what they're talking about. So it's going to be an interesting, there's an opportunity there.
There's an opportunity, and there's a column to come that we will read tomorrow. So she had a great one today on politics.com. We'll read yours in WallStreetJournal.com tomorrow.
Thank you, Kellyanne.
Great to have you both.
Thank you, Karl.
See you tonight.
Talk to you later.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.